Business with a servant's heart. Welcome to the podcast. Inspiration, motivation takes. Listen to the podcast. We're all about to talk about life. Our guests will share their life story. We want you to success in life and business. We're ready and we will start shortly. We're gonna talk about life. We're going to speak on business. You're gonna shine bright. We are going to witness. Business with a servant's heart. With hosts Steve, Ramona, and Ray. Inspiration, education talks. Listen to the podcast. Steve, Ramona.
Welcome, everyone, to Doing Business with a Servant's Heart. I'm so fired up for you to join us today. This podcast is dedicated to taking your life in business and personally and making an impact. And how do you do that? Your purpose is a servant's heart. I want you to think about who you're going to serve, how you're going to serve yourself today and serve others today, and what impact and difference you'll make today. That is the key. What can you do today? I get to do it every day. I get to have great guests like Chris today and be a podcast host, be a guest on somebody else's show, whatever it may be. But you can serve in any way possible. That servant heart, you give $1 million to your favorite charity, or go give $1 to the homeless guy, or go work at it. It doesn't matter, but the universe loves the activity of serving and giving. I want to thank our sponsor, Pantheon Alliance. They're a platform where a community of high-level, highly successful, highly income-producing entrepreneurs are building a thought leader platform to change the world and help grow your business. For more information on Pantheon Alliance, just reach out to me and I'll get you all the information that you need. Impact and difference. Well, when it comes to finances and money, you can make huge differences as a servant, or you can fail as a servant. Money is a root of all evil. I don't believe that totally. But money can be great or it could be bad. And today's guest, we're going to talk about investing in money, how to do it properly, but how to get the most from it. With that being said, Chris, welcome to the show.
Steve, it's great to see you again. Thank you so much.
Why are you so passionate about investing?
Yeah, so, Steve, what you just said, money is a magnifier, right? If you have a good heart, if you're out there serving people, it can help you do more of that. And that's why our mission at Next Level Income is to help people achieve financial independence, make, keep, and grow your money. And obviously we focus on kind of the grow side, on the right side of that spectrum. But I started this journey in college. I lost my best friend in between my freshman and sophomore year of college. And I went to Virginia Tech. There's a real diploma back there, to get an engineering degree, but I really went because I wanted to race bicycles. I wanted to be a professional cyclist. And I started racing when I was 13, 14 years old, met my best friend, Chris. That first year I raced, started training with him every day. He lived in Annapolis. I lived in Severna Park, Maryland, 10 miles apart. Every day after school, we would ride 5 miles towards each other, meet each other on our rails to trail between Baltimore and Annapolis. And we trained together, became best friends, training partners. He was my roommate in college, but right before he moved in, he died. He had a massive brain hemorrhage. And I went back to school. I raced another year, and I did a lot of thinking. And I did a lot of thinking on the bike that year. I was training 20, 30 hours a week. I got to a category 1, which once you're category 1, you can become a pro. It's really no difference aside from that license you get. And my team did go pro. But that year I stepped away because I said, if I died today, would I really be happy? Riding my bike around in circles. And I was good. I got to train with some of the best in the sport. Lance Armstrong, trained with him, raced against people that have won, grand tour stages. I'm still friends with some of those people. But I said, I don't want to have any regrets. And I said, to do that, the fact of the matter is, in this world, you need money to do it. If you have to make another dollar, you sometimes have to sacrifice, whether it's your personal time with your family or your health or your ability to give to others to do that. So I bought my first property at 21 years old, kind of long story short, after doing a couple of years of due diligence and trading in the stock market. and built up a small portfolio. Also spent 18 years in the medical device industry because it's kind of the dirty secret of investing. You want to be an investor, but you have to have some money to get started. And coming from a family where my father died when I was 5, we were on Social Security. My mother was an assistant teacher. She made like 30 grand a year. We had enough, but we didn't have extra to do things, like buy commercial real estate and do those things. So over the course of those 2 decades, Steve, and actually now 2.5 decades, I learned what the ultra rich know, how to invest. And it's not the Dave Ramsey way. We use things like whole life insurance. We invest in things like cash flow real estate. We do invest in the stock market and those sorts of things. But fast forward to right after you and I spoke, Hurricane Helene hit Asheville, North Carolina, where I live. It decimated communities, lives, homes, and we came back. Our house had no water, no power. We grabbed a suitcase and a backpack, all 4 of us in my family, our family dog, and we drove to Charlotte, North Carolina, where we stayed, and we started a nonprofit. And my friend said to me, he goes, "Chris, I really admire you because you have built a life where you're able to put everything on hold because of your passive income that's coming in so that you can focus on these endeavors." And we raised about $250,000. We set up a fuel logistics supply network, and we were able to save dozens of lives, but also we're continuing to deliver. It's right now, it's the middle of January, still delivering heating fuel and life-saving supplies to people here in this region. So, case in point, I didn't expect that. Was kind of one of the endpoints in this whole journey, but that's what I want to do. I want to help others have the ability to not only live life on their own terms, but be able to give back to their communities and have the time, effort, and necessarily capacity in their lives to do just that.
Yeah, it's in a lot of levels. Anybody can do this. I can do it. People listening, right? You took action. To me, I always say, "Hey, I'm a good podcaster because I took action and I keep doing it."
Yeah.
Talk about how you could take somebody and have that same story for them down the road, 2, 3, 5 years.
Yeah. So, kind of getting into the nuts and bolts a little bit, Steve. Our financial system, I was in the medical system for 2 decades. You're seeing out in California. I was just out there in Orange County last week, meeting with my coach, as a matter of fact, seeing the wildfires right up the road. One of my good friends had to cancel dinner with me because his wife's family, their house burned down in the Palisades. And we were actually on the phone earlier today catching up because we weren't able to talk last week. And we were talking about, the insurance industry that's broken out there. The point is, you can't depend on the system to get what you want out of life. You have to do it yourself. And if you depend on the way the financial and the retirement system is set up today, what do they tell you? Go to school, get a good job, go into, hundreds of thousands of dollars of debt to do it, pay off that debt, put 10, 20% aside, whatever you can in your qualified plans, and, hope that, it grows enough so that you can start taking those distributions, 3, 4% when you're 60, 65, 70 years old, and then hope that you don't outlive your money. Well, the people that I talk to, Steve, they say, "Hey, Chris, I'm not that patient, or I don't know if I want to do this till I'm 60 or 70. How can I be free sooner?" And the answer that I found is passive income. So what we do, Steve, is we help people build a system to achieve financial independence way sooner than 60 or 65. And what I found is most people, if you're working, if you have a successful business, most people can become financially independent in 7 years or less. And the way they do that is they create streams of passive income to replace their active income. And I found 2 things from that. One, it happens a lot faster than people think it can when they have the right system in place. And 2, a good friend of mine is a surgeon. He's actually a cardiologist that saw my stepfather here last week. He said, "Chris, when we first started this journey, I thought once I hit my passive income goals, I'd potentially leave my practice." He goes, "But Chris, I love what I'm doing. I'm having more fun doing it because the passive income I have allows me to work the hours I want. And I don't have that pressure dealing with the hospital system and challenges that I've dealt with. So it leads to happiness. But again, like I said, he is an awesome physician. He's an awesome surgeon, and he loves doing that. So that's allowed him to be better at what he does.
Yeah. And that leaves the thought, people listening, what's your dream? 40s and 50s. And this guy's dream was continue working and not have to worry about money.
Right. That's
I
right.
mean, when you don't have to worry about money, it opens so many avenues. And I'm living your life. I have property that I've been living off of for 5 years.
Yeah.
And we'll dive into that real quick.
Yeah.
Tell us a story of a guy you've worked with besides the doctor. That's a great. So do you have another story of your systems, how it works?
Yeah. I got a roommate from college, worked for Google. Was very successful, was an engineer. And, I went to school for engineering. I ended up getting an MBA in portfolio management and finance, but he did well with his stock options. And what he did was he converted some of those into passive income investments, and that allowed him to step back from that really high intense role where he was traveling a lot, away from his family. Like me, he's got 2 kids. And I mentioned earlier that my father passed away when I was 5 years old. I never really got that experience with him to do those father-son trips, to do those things. I have a stepfather, but my mother didn't remarry till I was 11. And again, we lived a nice blue collar life, back then. But my dream was to be able to travel with my boys. They both play lacrosse, and we can do that. We can spend time doing that. And my roommate from college was able to do the same thing in his early 40s and do that. Now, some people say, oh, that's great. They end up consulting, they end up doing, other things and doing that. But really, the whole point is, like you just said, what is your dream? What's your vision? What do you want to do? And that may mean, like me, spending, say, 5 or so years focusing on, my boys and their lacrosse. I just told my assistant last week when I got my son's lacrosse schedule this week, or last week, I said, block off every game, block off travel time. I'm going to go to all his games this year. And that means I get to do that. Plus, I get to continue, to grow our businesses and help people and do those things. But I get to do it on my time and my terms. Yeah. Whereas for 12 years, I was on call, Steve. And, that's a lot of time away from my family, miss birthdays, miss Mother's Days. I was on the phone with the hospital flying my mother's funeral. It's just like, being able to have the freedom and flexibility to live life the way you want it is really the magic of it all.
Yeah, you get to take care of your family. You can go on these trips, not work, and know bills are paid, food's on the table, there's a roof, all that stuff you all hear. But these 2 stories are just incredible.
Yeah, and I can go on and on. And look,
sure.
It's investments have their up and downs, business cycles have their up and downs. My life's not perfect. When we spoke, we hadn't been hit by Helene, but had a really, really rough back half of last year. But having that capacity takes a big stress out, where you can devote that. As a lot of people know that are listening, was it 50% of divorces are because of financial reasons? You want to take more time for your health. You want to take more time for your family. You want to take more time, to devote to, relief efforts and those sorts of things. This does all those things.
No, you nailed it. We just sent food down through our church to LA, and I'm able to do that because I'm blessed because of the things that you're talking about.
Yeah.
Somebody listening's going, okay, it's unicorns and pink balloons, and it sounds great.
Yeah.
What's my first step?
Yeah. So, well, first off, I think I told you I was going to give your audience, if you're listening today, you want a free copy of my book, go to nextlevelincome.com. We will send you a free copy. Just put your address in there, or you can get a copy, an ebook version. And I walk you through the steps. It's like, so first off, you need to get a good savings plan in place. Like I said, you need capital to invest and do that. I walk through those systems. My number one thing is you need to have a high income career or business that's gonna generate income. Once you have some income coming in, I was sitting down last week in California at that meeting with my coach. Kid's 29. He's helping his father grow his business. He goes, Chris, what do you recommend I do? So perfect example, right? I said, hey, how old are you? He goes, I'm 29 years old. I said, great. I said, what's your average expenses? He goes, 5 grand a month. I go, all right. I said, your number one thing is to grow your business, help your father grow his business, grow the business, grow your income. I said, but when you do, don't go buy the new flashy car, don't go out and buy all the stuff. Don't move into a more expensive apartment or buy that house. Get to the point where you're saving 50% of what you're making. So that's rule number one. If you can get to the point where you're saving 50% of your after-tax income, and that can be in equity that you're building in your house, equity in investments, it can be in your qualified plans like 401ks, it can be like I did in my life insurance policy, cash value life insurance, and then you start to invest it. If you save 50% and you invest, on average, I've seen that formula will put you at a financial independence point in 7 years. And again, you may say, oh, well, Chris, things went sideways. It took me 10 years. But if you're 29 years old and it takes you 11 years, you're 40 years old and you have financial independence. And that's a formula. We've got a spreadsheet on our online course, and you can plug those numbers in for yourself and see how that happens. But it's a very simple formula. Save 50%, invest it at a reasonable rate, say 12, 14%. And within 7 years, you can replace your active income with passive income.
Yeah, with medical technology, I'm 63, 10 years, 73. I still got 7 years of traveling my wife and doing
Easy.
fun things and all that.
Easy.
So 29,
Absolutely.
you got a huge advantage. I wish I was him.
Yeah.
That's okay. Don't never look back. I love that story because we have a lot of young people that listen. And,
Yeah.
I think pressure is what people get. Like, I got to save money. I can't save money, so I can't do it. So you help them find that number. XYZ person, you're 30 years old, you're making 100,000 a year.
Yep.
Here's some ways, maybe save this, but can you get a bonus? Can you get a raise?
That's right.
Can you start another business that brings you revenue?
Yes.
Talk about those things. We got some time here.
Yeah, absolutely. So, and again, you can, under our resources on our website, nextlevelincome.com, I've got an article, how to create 20 to 40 more hours a week. So you can do more of what you want to do, whether that's to get healthy, like you said, start a side business, work more. So I was in sales, Steve. So what I did was I said, okay, if I can work smarter and harder than everybody else, then I can generate more income. So going from 100 to 200 to 300, $400,000, $500,000, $600,000 a year, think about how much more you can make. So people looked at me and they would make fun of where I used to live. They're like, oh, you must not be doing very well as a sales guy. You can't afford to live in a very nice place. What they didn't know is that I was taking all that extra income and I was putting it into investments. So I was investing way more than I was spending on my mortgage and those sorts of things. And I just kept the pedal down. Now, what was nice is my income got into those higher levels. So if you go from $200,000 to $300,000 a year, we could move from the little townhouse to buying our own home. It was still a reasonable home. And we were still saving 50%. So as our lifestyle went up, our savings went up congruent with that. So now we live in a wonderful home that my wife and I designed. She's an architect and built, still saving 50% and doing that. So if you say, hey, Chris, that sounds great, but I can't do it. I don't have enough time. Cut out social media, stop watching sports. I some days I'd work, for years I worked 6 days, 16-hour days, but you don't have to do that for very long to get to that point. So can you drive Uber in your spare time? Can you start a side business? Like I helped my wife, who's an architect, start her own business. So she went from being an employee and now she's making 5 times in her own business, working less than she was as an employee. So there's a lot of strategies around that. We don't specialize in, kind of helping you grow your business, but Steve, I know you're great at helping people do that. But you have to be creative. And sometimes you do have to change course or maybe do some things that aren't typical. Because hey, if you're happy working 40 hours a week, making 100, 150 grand a year, putting aside 10, 20%, working until you're 65 or 70, then what we do is not for you, right? But if you want more, if you want to live life on your own terms, then you can do that. And it starts with, again, maximizing your time and then taking that time and generating more income. And what a lot of people find is you just have to work smarter. You have to be more focused and do revenue generating activities. But think about it. If you have a reason to do that and you see a light at the end of the tunnel, what I found was the momentum picked up. And I actually, as I was more focused, I actually was becoming smarter and smarter, and my income kept going up because I had that time point in mind where I could do it. And in my late 30s, I was able to walk away from that, full-time sales role into a role that I was able to manage more time. I still was working. I was still having a good time to do that, but it allowed me to really focus on our investments and grow our investments. And that's the second piece. So after you have grown your business, grown your career, grown your income, you have that savings plan in place, learn to be an investor. You don't have to invest today. It took me a year before I made that first multifamily investment 12 years ago now, as I learned about it. So as you're increasing your income, learn how to invest in passive income investments like multifamily, self-storage, mobile home parks. We have car washes. We even have a debt fund that pays investors up to 10%. We pay out monthly. And the thing is, if you're working and you're saving 50%, now your investments are generating that income. So it starts out as a few $100s a month, rapidly grows and compounds into several $1,000s a month. And it's a big snowball effect. And once you get that flywheel going, there's no stopping it.
The last piece to all this, there are a lot of advisors, you're not an advisor, but people in the financial field is mindset. Real quick,
Absolutely.
Talk about how people go, I hear it all, I can't do it, I can't give because I have to make money and all that. It's all the mindset. Talk about how you help with that.
It is a mindset. And I'll make sure, I'll give you a special link, Steve, that you can put in the show notes here. So if you're listening and you're like, Chris, you told us everything, but you really told us nothing. Like I need a step-by-step pathway to do this. We've got an online course. It will walk you through in 12 weeks, step-by-step how to do it. And I'll give your listeners a real big discount on that so they can check that out. But the first thing we do to get your mind right, and what I found is my coaching clients, the successful ones, have one thing in common. They get their mind right because they have a 3-year vision that directs them and is a filter for what they're doing. So I find, and you've heard this other places too. I forget if it's Tony Robbins or who said it, and I heard it first, but we overestimate what we can do in a year. We underestimate what we can do in 5 years. I really like that 3-year point because you can work towards something and really set a realistic goal. And you can literally recreate every cell in your body in that time. So if you can recreate your entire body, you can recreate your entire financial life as well. Excuse me. Once you have that vision in mind, you need to look at that vision every day, look at your goals every week, set your goals every quarter. So you're moving towards that endpoint. And one of the things I love to do in the morning is I have, it's called 5-minute journal. I get up every day. I put 3 things I'm grateful for, what I'm going to do that day, my 3 big goals for the day. And then I get up at 5. By 5:30, I'm sitting at my desk. I'm working on those things that aren't necessarily urgent. They're not in front of me. My email's still off from the day before. I can't even look and see that. And this is how I wrote my book in 2 weeks. For 60 minutes every morning, I just focused on writing a chapter. And in 2 weeks, the book came out. So you can learn all about these investments in a very short period of time. And again, that's one of those things. If you were like me and you're hanging out at 9:30 at night, watching, some news show or something, having 2-3 beers, next thing you know, it's 11 o'clock, you've done nothing. I said, you know what, forget that. I cut off the news, stopped drinking at night, and I started getting up an hour earlier. And that's how I was able to start my business on the side and ultimately grow all this.
Mindset change turns into habit change. It's powerful.
That's right.
It's so great.
Yeah.
I love all this. This is so good. We're coming to the end here.
Yeah.
Let's have some fun. So I'm
Let's
going to
do it.
reserve
Yeah.
a table in a restaurant for you. Table of 4.
Okay.
And you'll be, of course, in one of the chairs. The 3 empty chairs, who would you invite, dead or alive? Why would they be invited to the table? And I think most importantly, what food would you order?
Yeah. Wow. Well, if you ask my sons, they'll say, "Oh, what did you have for dinner?" If I travel, they say, "What did you have for dinner, Dad? Did you have some salmon?" So when I travel, I'm very focused on my health. I'm not blessed with great genes, so I have to be very particular with my diet. So I would probably order the fish that the restaurant would recommend. Like I did in California, got an amazing piece of sea bass when I was out there. It's
Oh, I can
fantastic.
imagine.
Um, or sushi, this I love that when I'm out in the LA area. Number one, kind of cheating, but I would invite my father who passed away when I was
Not
young.
cheating.
I'd love for
Yeah.
him just to sit there, and and have, and that would be enough. But yeah, I think I mentioned Tony Robbins earlier. I'd love to meet him, man. Like his energy, he loves cold plunges, like we were talking about before the show today. That guy, man, I feel like that would be something special. And I got a long list of people that aren't alive anymore. But given everything I've seen in the past year, and some people may not like his politics or how he operates, but man, I think Elon Musk is a national treasure at this point. The way he's operated and the things he's done. I would love to have him sit there, and maybe he'd pick up the tab for dinner. I don't know.
Yeah.
But
He better.
but I think, those are, and I could go on, we could fill out
Yeah.
a huge round table. But I just finished Elon Musk's biography, so I think that's, he's at top of my mind. My dad, obviously, but then Tony Robbins. The reason I mentioned him is because I went through one of his courses, his CD courses in 2005, Steve. And I still have it right back here in this cabinet. I moved into this house. I was 40 years old, and I said, I wrote down, and I didn't even, and this is silly because it's a thing, and I'm not a real like stuff kind of guy. But for some reason, when I was 25 years old, or I was 27, sorry, 2005, I was 27. I wrote down that when I was 40, I wanted a BMW M5. And I don't know why I wrote it back then, but sure enough, for my 40th birthday, my accountant said, "I'm selling my M5." And it had low miles on it. It was, 2 years old. And I was like, he's like, "You want to buy it?" And I said, "Nah, man, I'm not a car guy." He goes, "What are you doing this week?" I said, "Oh, I got to do this big business trip." He pulls his keys out. He goes, "Here, borrow it." He goes, "I'll tell you what." He goes, "It's being detailed. I'll have my guy drop it off at your house. Take it for the rest of the week and the weekend." It ended up in my garage for my 40th birthday. And when I moved into this house and it was sitting in my garage, when we moved in, I unpacked the box and I pulled out that journal and I was looking through it and my jaw hit the floor. But it was because of that methodology that Tony Robbins teaches that really taught me the power of that vision and that mindset. So he deserves a spot at that table, without a doubt.
Amen. Yeah, no doubt. Well, we come to the end. Again, you've mentioned before, but how can people reach out to you? Because I know they want to
Yeah.
reach out.
Yeah, please. Yeah. So first off, we got something for everybody. So if you're just getting started, check out nextlevelincome.com. We got Chris GPT down in the right-hand corner. You can converse with me. It's got everything that I've ever written or said on podcasts uploaded into there, so you can ask me questions. Is a little virtual Chris. Check out our Next Level Income show. Go to the podcast link, get a free copy of our book there. You can also get our course there, which I'm going to give your listeners a massive discount on that as well, Steve. That'll get you going. If you said, "Chris, I'm saving a ton of money. I'm doing all the right first steps. I'm ready to grow my money. How would what do you have to do that?" You can click on the invest link on our website, and you can schedule a call with our team and learn how you can participate and share in some of the investments that we do ourselves.
I love all that. And I got to say, on recording and in public, I talk about taking your servant from one level to the next level all the time.
Yeah.
And that's why I love what you do, because we do, if you want to be, again, if you're happy 150,000 a year, you're paying your bills, you do your one vacation, me and you, Chris, I know you agree because we talked, that's great. We're here to help you. But if you want to scale and have more abundance, because to me, abundance allows you to serve more. I've got more
Absolutely.
abundance and we can do more
Absolutely.
like you did in North Carolina and I did in LA. So it's all good things.
Love it.
Audience, last thing is subscribe to the YouTube channel. Not why you think it is. I laugh when I say it because, and you've heard this all the time, I'm going to keep saying it. To me, the greatest gift, one of the greatest gifts in the world is a podcast link. And why? Well, you're listening to this podcast and you go, my cousin is really doing well, but he has no investments. Let's say that's the story. You take the podcast, go, I just listened to Chris. You got to listen to this podcast for 10 or 15 minutes. That's it. And they go reach out to Chris and maybe invest or sign up as a coach. Chris just wants to make an impact any way he can. I love that. You've just given them the gift of legacy and retirement. Think about that. A lot of people don't talk about podcasts that way. They are truly gifts. Not for everyone, but when you hear somebody saying, hey, I want to grow, I want more money for those type of things, it's a free gift. Massive impact.
Absolutely.
If you want to comment on the YouTube channel, thanks, Chris. For Chris, I'll get the comments to him. It's a critique of the podcast. We'd love that because me and Chris want this to be a great podcast for all of you to help you. Whether we make money on this or not, it matters, but it doesn't matter. I call it God's currency or universe. When you do good things and not get that transaction, the universe will come back and take care of you. With that being said, me and Chris want to thank you all so much for watching or listening to this podcast. And we'll see you all on the next episode of Doing Business with a Servant's Heart. Have a great day, everyone.